Right, we're ready to go. So, hi guys, very good evening to all of you. Today I have with me Rahul. So, a little bit introduction about myself. My name is Parag, and I am a community engagement associate at BNPS International. And today we are here with Rahul for a live webinar on how does the life of a master student look in Australia. Right. So, to begin with, Rahul, can you please give us a short introduction about yourself?
Yep. Hello everyone. I'm Rahul Bharadwaj. I'm currently working as a business analyst in Melbourne. So just to give a brief about my background, I studied a Bachelor of Computer Science and Engineering in Bangalore from 2015 to 2019, and I came to Melbourne in Feb of 2020, just before COVID hit. I got a little lucky there because just 1 week after I arrived here, there was a hard lockdown. And if I missed that window, I couldn't have come in for 2 years because of the hard lockdown. And then I studied my Masters of Business Analytics from Monash University from 2020 to 2022. And I've been working as a business analyst since 2022. So I have like about 2 years of work experience now. So that's a brief about me and my background.
Amazing, amazing. I think that was very short and crisp. I think yeah. So Rahul, I'll tell you the flow of the webinar. So basically, first of all, I have prepared 5 to 6 questions for myself, which I'll be
Mm-hmm.
asking you. We'll try to finish these questions in, let's say, the next 20 to 25 minutes. So by 5:30,
Yep,
five
yep,
thirty-five, we should be done by all those like questions, and then I'll keep the forum open for the participants to ask whatever they want on chat.
sure.
So yeah, guys, one quick request for those of you who have your questions. So please start, typing in the chat. I'll pick them up one by one once we finish the set of questions that we have already prepared for Rahul. Yeah, sounds good. Take it. So Rahul, the first question that I have for you is very much to the topic. So can you like in short, if you can describe us how does the life of a master student in Australia looks like? How does a day in the life of a master student, it looks like?
Yep. Um, so apart from the obvious answer that you need to attend uni and do your assignments, go to the library, and all of this, I think that's what everyone would expect, especially all of us from India. Even I myself thought that that was it, but there's a ton of other responsibilities that come as an international student. Because when you're at home, you have your parents, your friends, and everyone. And there are a lot of things that you wouldn't even think of doing at home. For me, for example, it was cooking, or paying my own rent for my house, or doing the cleaning and dishes myself. These are things that I wouldn't even imagine if I stayed back in my house with my parents. Um, s- so there's a ton of other responsibilities other than just studying and all of those sort of. So you wake up in the morning, freshen up, go to the uni first thing. So another thing is, in university here, you don't sort of have uni all 5 days of the week, if that makes sense. You just have like 2, 3 days of uni as a master student, and that too probably like 3, 4 hours at max on each day. And you get to allocate your classes based on your preferences. So that is one thing. And you finish your classes in the morning, maybe have a small lunch break, go to a cafe in the university and sort of have your lunch. And if you have another session that's going to be there after lunch, which seldom is not there, you just come back home and then you prepare stuff like cooking, for example, for the night, and all of that, and the daily chores and all of these stuff. So I think one thing to keep in mind here is that in terms of the study itself, in India, we are used to going to the class to learn something, but it's slightly different here in Australia where you're expected to study and come to the class. So that was something new for me. So you study something beforehand, then go to the classes, and then the class is almost like they teach you stuff, of course, but there is an unsaid expectation where they want you to have some background knowledge about what they are teaching on that particular day. So that's how usually the universities in Australia are. So that was something that was a little different for me as an Indian student.
Uh,
And most of it is self-study here in Australia, and the classroom study sort of just goes along with it, if that makes sense. So
Correct.
that
So it's
is
like
usually how a day
pre-reads,
looks like.
pre-reads, right?
Yes, yes, correct.
Correct. So yeah, you were saying something. I'm sorry.
No, no, that was it. That I was just saying this is generally how a day in a master's student's life looks like. Um, yep. So you do your assignments, which I think there is a pre-class task and a post-class task sort of a thing as well, which is like the pre-reads, like you mentioned.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that is something students have to keep in mind, which is slightly different compared to how it is in India.
Correct. Correct. Right. So I think that that was a very detailed answer to the question. So moving to the next question, Rahul. So the next question I have for you is, did you do any part-time jobs while you were studying as a master student?
Yep. Interesting question because my choice of part-time was very peculiar, not peculiar, but very different sort of. Um, I had it in my mind that I had to be a table tennis coach even before I came to Melbourne.
Wow.
Um, so I was a national level player while I was a kid, and it was in my mind very clear that, I want to be a table tennis coach part-time while I'm studying. That was my dream, and I sort of made that happen. So that was a really nice thing. Um, so to tell very honestly, everything that our teachers told in our schools that wouldn't take us anywhere are the things that actually make you money when you're studying abroad. For example, if you're a really good dancer, if you're really good at some music instrument, if you're really good at some sport, or if you're just really good at your studies and you can do tutoring for other kids, I think these are all the sort of part times I would encourage any new student to take up. But I understand that not everyone has some sort of a skill that they can transfer. In that case, obviously, you can look for hospitality roles, and there are a lot of stuff you can find on Airtasker, which is basically like um, an app for finding part-time roles, if that makes sense. So it's like running errands basically on an app that you can pick and choose and sort of do. And another obvious option is Uber deliveries and Uber drives and all of those sort of things. Um, so yeah, if you have a skill that you can use, it pays really well. So if you have my skill, for example, was sports coaching, and it used to pay twice as much as the minimum wage, which is really great as an international student. So if you can do something like that, I think that would be really great. Um, the only way you can get your part-time roles, especially in things like these, like all of these things that I mentioned, like sports coaching or music instrument and all of those sort of, or dancing lessons, for example, networking is the key, and you need to sort of build a network, and then you get one or two kids or clients, and through word of mouth, you can grow your network, and you can sort of have a part time that is self-employment sort of a thing that pays really well. If not, you can always go to retail, hospitality, working in supermarkets, and all of these sort of roles. um, you can apply. Usually people just go to the stores with their resume, and they just ask for roles. So that's how it goes here generally. So these are some of the options that students can expect to have as their part-time jobs.
Correct. So, once again, asking this one question. So, you're basically in the US, there is one platform called as Handshake, right? for
Mhm.
part-time jobs specifically. So is there any specific website or let's say page on Instagram or LinkedIn, where you can find like part-time jobs for in Australia as well?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, Airtasker is one of the popular apps here.
Okay, okay,
So that is, in my knowledge, that is what is used here. Otherwise, you can use the Uber app, which, like I mentioned, is for Uber delivery or for Uber drives also. Like
correct,
you can be a cabbie or you can deliver food as well. Either of it, it works on the same account.
correct,
So that's
correct.
another app option you have. So these two are the only ones that I am aware of. Since I was like pretty clear what sort of a role I wanted to do and I stuck with that, I networked around in that space. Like I went to table tennis academies. I met the head coach. He happened to be from Kerala and I'm from Karnataka myself. So we're like neighboring
Bonding
states in
happened, yeah.
India. Yeah, and we had a lot of mutual connections, and he was a national level player as well. And he saw me play and all of that. So we built rapport, and that is how I found my part time. And then later on, that led to other opportunities where I started working for private schools as a table tennis coach that was paying even better than the academy itself.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say, so this is one example of how I found my space in the skill set that I have. So you can go around networking with people, talking to them. Even if you don't want to directly ask them an opportunity, if you build a good rapport with people, you'll open yourself up for a lot of opportunities.
Right, right. So my next question is once again, related to what you just said. So, to ask this question, I'll just frame it this way. How and when did you realize that, networking is something that you need to focus on? And how did you actually start networking? Was it via LinkedIn or did you walk up? So, if you can just give that part in a little bit of brief. Yeah, how did this
Yeah,
actually start?
yeah, that is a good question again. I think my networking journey started probably 6 months after I came here.
Oh,
Because the first 6 months, it was hard lockdown and we weren't even going to the university. So I was studying online. I think the first opportunity I got for networking was in my university itself. There are a lot of volunteering opportunities within the university. So I sort of joined because I wanted to learn cooking. I had never cooked on my own when I was back home, and I wanted to learn how to cook. And I did learn cooking in the first 6 months, and then I just wanted to sort of volunteer. So I started volunteering for an event called Free Food Mondays in Monash University, where dinners on Mondays are free for students, like first come, first serve basis. We serve like 70 to 100 students. So I was cooking for that event.
oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, and I made a lot of friends there. So certain opportunities you get like these in university. So this is just one example. There are a lot of other uh, uh, you know groups. Like this was a cooking group, and there was a lot of other group for sports, music, etc. Whatever your interest is, you have a group for it in every single university. So go out there and try to join any club or something of that sort. For example, if you're into something that's related to Harry Potter or something, there's definitely a club out there for that. So you just start speaking to people who are like-minded, and because you already have an interest that's in common, I think it's easier to bond with people. And I think that was like my first networking sort of a thing that happened on a very informal level and on a low level in uni itself, where I started meeting people of other nationalities, people much younger than me. Like some people had come in here for bachelors. I was doing my masters. There could be someone who's doing their PhD as well. So it's like everyone under one umbrella you can meet. So that's one base level where you can network with your peers, people that are younger or your own age.
Hmm.
To take it up a level, there is this website called Eventbrite here in Australia where you can actually look into networking events that are happening around the city. So these are
Correct.
like really professional networking events, and most of them are free, or they're very nominal, like $5 or something as the entry fee, and you can just go around there. And it would be very similar to what's happening here right now. They would sort of speak about something usually, and there's an open mic for Q&A, and there's like half an hour or 1 hour time period where they sort of let the hall open for everyone. You can just randomly go out and talk to people. So this is like one of the best places where you can build your network and talk to people, connect with them on LinkedIn. And whatever you've done here, you can extend it to the virtual world where you also build connections on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn reminds me that LinkedIn is one of the most important things here. I think LinkedIn sort of changed my whole life. It also led to a lot of opportunities for me in terms of my internships, my professional opportunities. My full-time role also eventually was sort of came from that. So this was my experience with networking. So these are some of the ways you can start your networking journey as an international student here.
Amazing. I mean, the answer was like very detailed, very well described, and very minute things that you said. I don't think we get those kind of information anywhere except from someone who's actually like gone through that like personally,
Yep, yep.
right? Okay. So yeah, one of the things that you also said interested me a lot was networking over. So informal networking is something that is very impromptu, right? Because formal
Mhm.
networking has kind of a setting, and some decorum is
Correct.
to be like
Yes,
maintained.
yes.
I mean, like you said, the first time you cooked food for 70 people, I mean, that was crazy, right? And when
Yeah,
you bond over food, it's a different kind of a connect, right?
exactly.
So I
Yep,
mean,
yep.
I'm sure the networking game might have. I mean, you have done amazing networking through your strategies. That's very evident here. Very sure about that, right? So now the next question, and possibly I think this is one of the most important like questions for every student who has joined today. So
Mhm.
considering the current job market everywhere around the world, I would like to ask you, how was your journey to land up a full-time job in Australia? And when did you like get it? Was it before I mean, was it before the completion of your course, during it, or in between or after?
So
I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah. So I got my offer just 2 weeks of after graduation, which I think is quite lucky. A lot of my friends did get jobs right after they graduate, but I think it was due to the fact that most of us that got jobs did certain things right before it.
Mhm.
And I think that the answer to the question that when did I get it is, yeah, 2 weeks after graduating. It's like a
Oh,
very ideal time to get. So that was a very lucky thing for me as well. But like I mentioned, there were certain things that I did before it that sort of led to that event. So I would encourage any student to sort of have this mindset of getting a job from the day that they land here in Australia. So I think they need to see their masters or bachelors through a lens where this is something I'm doing so that eventually I get a job. Like that is the end goal. So a lot of us just come here and just study for an year and a half, and then when you're like almost towards the tail end of your master's course or your bachelor's course is when people start taking it a little seriously, and they start realizing, okay, I have to focus on getting a job now. But I think I wasn't like that, which actually helped me. What I'm trying to say is I came here day one. I know I'm studying, but everything I'm doing in the background, at the back of my mind, I know I need to get a job here. So I think
absolutely.
that sort of helped me build my LinkedIn. And if you have the skill for writing blogs and sharing LinkedIn posts, I think that is the best way to network here in Australia. If not, if you can't write your own posts or blogs, or you feel like you're not good enough to express yourself in written format, just start commenting on whatever your niche is. For example, if you're studying business day or data analytics or business analytics or whatever, if you see someone who's posting around these topics, just go to the comment section and comment something that you know about that. And that is how you get noticed by people. The best way to get noticed is to write posts yourself, which I did. And I sort of built a very huge following because of that, and my LinkedIn number started growing exponentially after I started doing that, especially when I started posting about what I'm studying, what I'm trying to do, and all of that. So what I'm trying to say is, even though I was studying, doing my assignments and all of that, because I had this at the back of my mind, I was putting all of these efforts in the background that sort of built my network and sort of led to that event where I am job ready at the end. And another very important thing is every university has like a career coaching sort of uh, organization or whatever you can call it in within the university, and you can avail these services for free. And they teach you how to build your resume for the Australian standards, how to build your LinkedIn, how to network, how to improve your interviewing skills, and everything basically you need to know. I think start doing these, start taking up these workshops very early on, so that you don't sort of rush this at the tail end of your um, master's or your bachelor's coursework. So try getting into these things from the beginning. And I think having done all of that in the beginning, I think it sort of led to that event where I could get a full-time opportunity
Mhm.
right after graduation. And because I did all of these, I actually got a part-time role um, as a WordPress developer and a social media marketer as well. And I also did an internship as a data analyst. And for those who are coming here as a fresher, I think it's very important to get internship or part-time exposure here, because before your full-time role, people here want you to have knowledge about the Australian corporate culture. So even if you have a small internship experience here, I think that counts more than having 1 or 2 year work experience in India. So I think it is all the more important you do all of these in the first 2 years that you're here. And if you do that, then obviously you have an edge over other people who just studied and didn't do any of this. So I think that sort of sets you apart, and um, puts you or gives you that little edge that you need to have to sort of get your first job.
Correct. I think you explained it all very, very well. And I think the insights that the students had to take from this answer, I think they have already noted it down. But otherwise, yeah, I think the efforts that you have put in, I think it was a very well-deserved 2 weeks of wait that you had to do for your like full-time job letter, I'm sure. And I think it was amazing. Right. So one final question I have for you, before I leave the forum to the students, the another very very important like question, from the student side. Only I'm just representing that question, as a host. So
Mhm.
we have always heard about housing crisis in Australia and everything. So can you please break or bust that myth of how did you find your accommodation, and how are accommodation usually found? How should one go about it? How should one start looking for it? So if you could just give a little bit a detailed overview on the entire accommodation thing, I think it would break a lot of myths and worries. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
I think if I explain just my story, it will be very short, because I was very lucky. I had friends here when I first came, and I
Oh,
just tagged along with them, and they did all the work and they put all the effort, and that's how I actually got my first house. I literally did nothing. So
okay. Okay.
best idea you can do, if you know people around here and who are like trustworthy and you're like close enough with, I think just do this. As an international student, if you can find your accommodation without a lot of hassle, I think that sort of takes a huge chunk of your plate, and it sort of helps you a lot. But otherwise, I think there are a lot of websites that you can visit, like realestate.com.au, and which is the other one? Flatmates. Flatmates is a very
That
popular
means
app where you can sort of find housemates also if you want to group up with other people. It's sort of like a Facebook for people seeking for accommodations, basically. And you can team up with people, and you can also check for accommodations that you have. One advice I would give people is that book an Airbnb for a month at least after you've arrived here. I think you need that 1 month time sort of to just stay somewhere at least until you found a relatively more longer term accommodation. So that is what even I did actually. Even though I knew people here when I came, I had booked an Airbnb for 1 week. So it's like, a safety, like
safe.
you shouldn't be in a spot where you just landed in the airport and you don't know where to go. So that shouldn't be the case. I would say minimum 1 month for right now, because like you mentioned, there is a housing crisis going on right now. So it is not impossible to find a house right now, but it is quite hard. A lot of people are coming in, and even the cost of living has gone very crazy high right now. So it's almost double what I was paying as a student when I was here. Um, so yeah, I would just say book an Airbnb for a month, and while you're here, just start looking for places. Um, Places around university. I can speak about Monash even more. So even now, I live right next to Monash University. Actually, I'm still staying in the same accommodation that I was before. um, so places around the university, they know there are a lot of students coming in. The landlords are a little more lenient in terms of giving you an accommodation, because a lot of houses on realestate.com.au ask you for income statements, for example, your passport, and it's almost like a very thorough background check that they do before they give you a house for rent. So I that is not, something a student that just came in can do, right? Like you don't have pay slips, you don't have anything. So I think flatmates is sort of a better, it's more of an informal sort of a way to
Setup.
look for a house, I would say. I would always suggest flatmates over realestate.com.au. Go for flatmates for your first house. The landlords also know that, you're a student, you don't have pay slips and all of that. So they're open as long as you can pay the rent out every month. They don't ask you for all of these complicated documentations which you yet don't have yet as a newcomer. So look for houses through flatmates. Around universities, there are landlords that give you a house without all of these complicated documentation. So that is the way to go for your first house. And later for your second house, or maybe you've like stayed for like 6 months or 8 months and you've gotten to know things a bit, then start probably looking for something, and you would have probably started a part-time role and you have some income or something like that. And then for your second house, you can probably look for a better place through realestate.com.au. um, I would suggest any student coming in right now to have a backup of funds for their 6 months rent at least. As in, don't expect to get a job ASAP and pay your own rent. Um, you can do that. Hopefully, you can do it, but not everyone can do it. So come with a mindset where, let your parents know, or if you've taken a loan, take a little extra amount for your cost of living to cover for the first 6 months at least. It's like a safety net, right? It's not like you have to do this, but I think it is a good, thing to do this. Because a lot of people come here, they start thinking, I don't have a part time now, I don't have income coming in, and they don't plan ahead, and then they don't have rent to pay for their houses. So that shouldn't happen. Just try to take some extra loan if you're on a student loan, or if your parents are sponsoring you, make sure they have it in their mind clear that, at least for 6 months that they might have to send it, not always, might. So make sure that that cushion is always there. So I think make sure the first month you're here, have an Airbnb for 4 weeks, book an Airbnb for 4 weeks, and have at the back of your mind that you need to have rent for the first 6 months at least planned before you come here.
Right, right. I think that solves the major doubts and everything. So I think with this, I will stop for my questions. I think I've asked you everything that I needed to. More of a generic kind of a question. So now we'll take up specific like questions. So guys who are in the meeting in the webinar, please shoot your questions in the chat. The first question is by Avi. I'll take it. So he's asking, what are the next steps once someone has received an admission offer from an Australian university? It would be really helpful if you could provide a step-by-step answer.
I think if you've got an admission, sometimes it is a complete offer letter, sometimes it's a partial offer letter. So it depends on what offer you've got. So a complete offer is when you provided all your documentations and you've got a full offer, an unconditional offer letter, that is what they call it. If you've got a conditional offer letter, it means you have a few documentation that needs to be submitted. I'm sure like BNPS will help you out with that anyway. So you can submit those, and the next step is university dependent. To be honest, some universities like Deakin University, for example, have an interview sort of a thing that they do before they sort of give you a complete offer. Uh, and a few other universities just sort of give you once they've given you a full unconditional offer letter, you just have an admission. You don't have to specifically do anything after that. So that is the only thing. Um, Yep, I think as far as the admission process goes, it's pretty simple in Australia compared to other countries. I think that is one of the best things about Australia. So the interview step is the only thing that I can think of. And for Monash University, there was a statement of purpose I had to write. So yeah, of course, you need to write the statement of purpose for any university. I think you need to write it for your visa as well. Sometimes they ask one for the visa, and sometimes the university asks another one in terms of how your career is progressing or why exactly are you doing this course. Like, explain to us what your goal is for coming to Australia, sort of a thing. So yeah, the interview and the SOP are the only two things that I can think of as next steps.
Right, right. So the next question is from Arman Dinha, and he's asking, which are the platforms where I can apply for part-time jobs? I think you have mentioned that. If you can just say it once again.
Yep, yep. So you can find jobs on Airtasker. You can sometimes find jobs on Gumtree as well. Gumtree is actually like a marketplace where things are sold. Sometimes even jobs are offered there. It's like an all-in-one sort of a platform. So Seek is also for professional jobs, but you can always find part-time roles and those sort of things also. So Seek, obviously, seek.com.au should be your go-to. You can just filter out saying part-time, and it'll show you the part-time opportunities that you have. Indeed is another platform. And Superprof is something that even I signed up to recently. So it is short for Super Professor. So Superprof is the website. So this is basically for sports coaching, tutoring, music instruments, dance lessons, whatever I told you about the part-time roles that you can do. You can
Mhm.
put your listing out on this website. You can put your experience, what sort of, for my example, let's say, I can say I've been playing table tennis for like 14 years, and this is my skill set, and this is the age group of kids that I specialize in, and this is what I do. And if you're like a math tutor, let's say, you put things out about yourself, like this is the basic degree I've done, this is the level of math that I know, and if you have any experience of tutoring before, you can just put that in. So Superprof is a very helpful website where you can do self-employment, like I mentioned, for part-time as well.
Right. So the next question is by Karan. He's asking, what is the minimum rent for a single person in a shared accommodation near RMIT? Okay, this is specific to RMIT. So Melbourne,
Okay.
in that case.
RMIT would be in the CBD. CBD is quite expensive right now. Uh, if you're sharing it with someone, like if you're sharing a single room with someone else, it might be a little cheaper. But I think for a single room, um, probably 12 to 1500 would be like a range you can keep per month of rent is what is going around right now. I might be stating it a little lower. I'm not very sure how much it is in the CBD exactly right now because I don't live in CBD. I live next to Monash University where I studied. And right now, $1,200 is what is going around Monash University. So Monash is like a suburb. It's in Clayton. So the suburbs are obviously a little cheaper than CBD. So if it's 1,200 here, I think I would say minimum of 1,500, if it is in the city near RMIT. If you're sharing that room with someone, then it would be half of that, like $750 or something like that, probably.
Okay, fine. The next question is by uh, Arman Dinha once again. Also, after completing masters, what is the best way to find a job in your field, which is I think business analytics? I'm also doing a master's in information technology. Okay, I think this person is a student in Australia right now. So I think
Okay,
best connect with Rahul on LinkedIn. This
sure,
webinar is
sure.
for the students who are in India. I'm really sorry, Arman. Will not take your like question for now. Thank you and hope you understand. Karan is once again asking, how is the data science job market in Melbourne?
Data science job market is really amazing here. Like that was this whole reason why I took up what I took up as well. So if you're a business analyst, if you're a data analyst, if you're a data scientist, business intelligence analyst, whatever variation of these role you can think of, the openings are uh, very healthy compared to any other profession for sure. Uh, but I think the only challenge is to sort of get that breakthrough, like that first job. So you need to sort of do everything you can, like the things that I mentioned before, like LinkedIn, networking, talking to people, internal references. Try to do all of this. Try to have a good LinkedIn profile, resume up to date, and sort of try to do all of this. I think that is the best way to sort of find your first full-time job for sure. I think if people have more, they want a more detailed answer for this, they can just connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to sort of answer through the messages for you.
Right, right, absolutely. Okay, the next question is from Aditya. He's asking how much value is given to institutions belonging in the group of eight by recruiters. What would I need to have in my resume for this? What would be the average salary after graduating from this group of international? My course is international business. Once again, Aditya, I think you are a current student. I'm not sure, but I'll skip your like questions for now. If you aren't, please confirm it in the chat. Okay, the next question is by Dia. Once again, she's asking what is the scope of masters in AI with respect to career opportunities? Good one.
Yeah, AI for sure. We all know it's like booming right now. So
Correct.
anything AI will have a lot of scope for sure. Again, AI also comes in the space of data itself. So it comes under machine learning, neural networks, AI modeling, those sort of area. So it's a more
Correct.
niche under data science. Basically, data science is like a big umbrella, and AI is a more
Part of
particular
that.
niche in data, basically. So anything data related obviously has really good scope. I think if someone's taking AI, then they should be really inclined towards coding is something that I would suggest because I honestly am not. Because of that, I took business analytics and I'm working as a business analyst where, I'm doing the requirement elicitation and sort of the SDLC cycle. So I want to go to the project management area. I do not want to be the one that's sitting behind a computer and coding. I
Right.
realized that was not my cup of tea. But if you're going into AI, you should enjoy coding for sure. If you don't, I think it is not a good idea to go into AI.
Right, right. So I think that it was taken up like pretty well. The next question is by Punya. Punya is asking how's cybersecurity job market in Australia? Okay, fair.
Yep, cybersecurity is another really good domain, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Even in terms of getting your PR prospects, cybersecurity is one of the uh, top prioritized domains, I would say, because there was recently a cyber attack in Australia on
Oh,
Medibank. All of you people would know, I guess, Medibank is one of the insurance providers for student and work visa health cover sort of a thing. So I think more than uh, I don't know, like tens of thousands of people's data got leaked
oh
because
my.
of a cyber attack on Medibank. So I think this is a very big challenge in today's world, anywhere in the world, I would say. So cyber crime is like really high, and protecting people's data is of high importance. So cyber security will always have um, a very prominent role to play anywhere. So it's a very good field, I would suggest.
Right. So, Aditya is not a student right now. He has got an admit, is what he has told me. So he's
Mhm.
asking what is the average salary that comes up
Right.
after you graduate from group of eight in international business. He's going for his
Yep. Yep.
masters.
Yep.
If you can just throw a little bit
So
light on
first,
this.
I'll answer the question about the group of eight and how important it is. Um, I would actually say your skill set that you bring to the table, the value you bring to the employer, and the way you communicate, and if you can get things done, if you're like, someone who's like a closer who can finish jobs, who can get things done for the company. I think these are the skill sets that everyone is looking for, no matter where you are in the world. If you can
Correct.
get things done, you'll get employed. So having said that, even if you're from a non-group of eight university and you have all of these characteristics, you are bound to get a job. And if you are from the group of eight universities, you have all of these skills, of course, then you have double advantage. You have a really good tag on your resume that says you're from a group of eight university and you have all of these characteristics, then yes, all good. But if you're from a group of eight and let's say you don't build all of these characteristics and you don't have these skill sets, then it would be a little difficult to get a job. So to answer the question, if it is important, um, the group of eight universities are a little more research oriented in the way that they set their assignments, and the standard at which they have their curriculum is higher in general. So
Mm-hmm.
people assume that you are a little more knowledgeable, sort of, if you are from the group of eight. That is the only difference that is there. Um, but it wouldn't drastically increase your salary or drastically increase your ability to get a job or anything of that sort. So, what I'm trying to say is getting a job is more dependent on the person and their skill sets and their traits compared to whether you're from a group of eight or not. So, that is slightly irrelevant, but it does give a slight edge. Like I mentioned, people have that perception that they are in the better group of students is how they assume sometimes, because University of Melbourne and Monash and all of this, for example, have really high standards for their assignments, and people know that if someone's passed these standards of assignments, they should be knowledgeable to a certain extent at least, is how they assume things. So in that way you have an edge. And the second question is that the salary that you can expect as a fresher, if you haven't worked at all before, you can expect between 65 to $75,000, which is like a decent amount to get as a fresher. That is what you can expect. But if you have some work experience in India that is relevant to what you've studied, that is very important. It has to be exactly what you've studied. let's say you've done something else in India, you chose a different master here, and then you're looking for a job, you're seen as a fresher. That old experience that was in a different industry won't be
Nullified.
considered now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're a fresher here again.
Correct. Correct.
So in that case, if you do have some experience, you can expect 75 to 85, I would say. If you have 1 to 2 years of experience, relevant experience that you can prove. Usually it is hard to prove people here with your Indian experience because they think the cultures are very different, which is true. Because of which most of the international students are viewed as freshers itself. Like most of us come under the category of not working at all or have 2 or lesser years of experience. Unless you have like 3 4 years of experience, it's not counted for much. So the general range could be 65 to $80,000 for a fresher is what I would say. Again, it depends on the company as well. If it's a startup, and startups usually don't pay a lot of money because obviously it's a startup and they're like, they have budgets and constraints and all of that. But if you're like in a big corporate, let's say like Deloitte or KPMG or something like that, you probably can expect a little higher salary.
Right. Right. So the next question is from this is done. Dia is asking any university recommendation for MSc in AI. So Dia, we'll get back to you with this. My team will reach out to you, and we can then discuss on this. We'll provide you with the things. Yeah. Okay. Aditya's question is done. So the next is by Karan once again. He's asking. So which are the preferred location near RMIT for cheaper accommodation?
So you can look for stuff in North Melbourne, which is like it is in the north of CBD around Coburg or something. Um, and on the northeast side near Hawthorne or Bandura. These are a little farther away from the city actually. If you choose to study from home or if you have like most of your course online, you can choose to stay in one of these suburban areas instead of in the city. That would make the rent a lot cheaper.
Okay. Okay.
So I
Right.
would say if it is 1500 is the average I am saying in the city, probably it is like 1000 to 1200 around those suburb areas where it's a little far. If you have to get to uni every single day, I wouldn't suggest it. Even if you're paying 1500, stay next to the university then. But if most of your course is online and you can, sort of do it from home, then yeah, you can look for suburbs in the north are cheaper.
Right. Right. So the last question that we are taking for this session is from um, Aditi. She's asking any thoughts on the University of Queensland?
I haven't studied in the University of Queensland, so as far as I know, it is the group of eight. Is in the group of eight, right? So anything that is in the group of eight for sure is a good university and they have good curriculum. The only thing I would suggest is that even if it's group of eight, there are certain universities that have specializations that they're really great at. For example, Monash is the number one for pharma, and Deakin is probably really good for sports management. And there are certain courses that are really good in certain universities, and I think it depends on which course also. Which are preferred.
Right. Uh, is there anything else that someone wants to ask? We can take one last question, maybe.
Which are the preferred companies for data science roles,
As
freshers?
freshers, okay.
Um, preferred. So very honestly, as a fresher, whatever job you get, you just grab. We don't have the luxury to sort of prefer any companies. To be very honest and frank, in the beginning, initially, for
Correct.
example, I just grabbed an opportunity in a small family-owned business that required a business analyst, for example, and now I'm looking for another role. But to answer the question, yeah, first of all, I would say don't have like preferences or anything in your mind. It's sort of keeps you constrained, and have an open mindset. Data science and business analyst roles are like required everywhere throughout all industries. So that's a really good thing about it. So you don't have to sort of focus on one company or anything. Having said that, if you have some interest, let's say you have interest in fashion or retail or something, look for opportunities in those areas. Or if you like sports, you can probably look for companies like Tennis Australia or Cricket Australia or something like that. So data science roles are abundant sort of in every industry. So wouldn't say that there is a preference as such, but there are graduate programs I must mention in big firms like Capgemini, Deloitte, KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and all of these. So you can look for such graduate programs, and also you need to apply for these graduate programs 1 year in advance. So if you're graduating next year, the application and screening, all of it happens after your first year. So make sure you are well within time to apply for those. They're very, very competitive. These are the preferred roles, to answer the question precisely, that all students apply for. Thousands of students apply for this. It's quite hard to get, but if you get it, it's a really good start as a fresher in any data sort of role in a big four consulting firm. That's always a dream. So that's one option they can keep.
Right, right. So I think with that, we can call this a day. What an amazing webinar it has been. Like Rahul, having you as a speaker was, I think, phenomenal. And I think the kind of decision that you, I mean, the kind of insights that you have provided us as a student, I mean, as a master student like yourself, and now who's working like full time, I think we couldn't have expected anything better than this. So first of all, I'm
It's
taking
my
this,
pleasure.
this moment to thank you for coming on board as a mentor and guiding and taking this webinar for us. So if you have anything or last suggestions to give the students, it would be really amazing.
Um, um, Signing off note. Uh, yeah, I think have a very clear plan before you come here. I am someone who believes in visualization big time. For example, my table tennis part-time coaching is the best example I can think of. I
Sure.
sort of had it fixed in my mind, that okay, I want to go to Melbourne. And I chose Melbourne specifically because it's sort of the unofficial sporting capital here. Like there's every single sporting event that happens in Melbourne. So anything related to sports is paid really well as well here. Even today, I do my part-time role as a table tennis coach, and I do earn a lot of money from that as a secondary stream of income. So I would suggest have a clear plan, visualize what you want to do, and you don't have to like think small. If it is just in your mind, you don't have to tell other people what your dreams are. Dream big in your own mind and sort of have a clear plan of how you can sort of get there. Like at least a vague idea. Like these are the steps that I can take. For example, if I have to get a job, I go there, I network with people. I first of all, I have to stop being shy. I have to stop being an introvert and I need to go out there and talk to people is something. So you just lay out a plan, you take actions towards it, and visualize what you want to do when you're here, even before you come here. I think that was like the biggest game changer for me. Yeah, have a clear plan, come here, execute it, study well, and don't forget to have fun as well. Hang out with people, enjoy your uni life. That's like the best time you can have here. So do all of your duties and have things planned out. Have fun at the same time. Explore, see places. Melbourne, if you're coming to Melbourne, Melbourne is one of the most beautiful places. Australia itself is a very beautiful country. Anywhere you go, so obviously explore Australia, see things, and you know uh, if you have that solid plan at the back of your mind, I think things will pan out. So visualize, execute, and have fun. That is what I would say.
Right, right, right. I think it was great here. Thank you very much
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Rahul.
much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed the session.
Thank you very much.
It was really fun, and yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to so many people.
Lovely, Rahul. Like lovely. Thank you very much, guys. I think we had an amazing time. I really appreciate every one of you for making time on a Saturday evening. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Like once again, I think now we can call this off a day, and you can go ahead and have the rest of your evenings with your loved ones. Have fun, guys. Take care. All the very best. Cheers.